I am an empathetic, a storyteller. I'm an artist. I'm a filmmaker. I'm an actor. I'm a person who loves making deep connections with people on an authentic, real level.
This is Rebecca Lee.
I've been really thinking about like my values in life, which I kind of think in some way define who I am.
In addition to all this, she runs a show called How the Fuck Did You Get So Confident?
I wrote them down. I should just read them to you.
My next question, believe it or not, are what are the three things you value most in life?
Oh my God. So there we go. What a good order of questions. You really have this figured out.
She's also a total sweetheart.
Well, values is something that I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about until I interviewed someone on my podcast who was my meditation teacher. And she was talking about how she developed her 4 core values. And I can't remember what hers were, but she said, keep asking yourself why. Like, why is this important to you until you get down to like the bare necessities? And another thing is like values constantly shift, right? When I first made my core set of values, they were growth / process oriented, meaning I want to live a life that doesn't value the result, that values the process more. That's something that's super important to me. And so that authenticity, to affirm others that their existence is meaningful. Inner peace / serenity. So like, what the like, I think it's like the AA saying, which was like the Alcoholics Anonymous saying, which is like, oh God, I'm going to butcher it now, but it's like, give me the grace to like know the things I can and can't change and like accept that, like the serenity prayer is what it's called, that I can't remember right now, but that and enlightenment. Now, those were like my first set of values that I had a couple months ago. But having a friend of mine pass away earlier this week kind of shifted my values a little bit. And I added to share my soul. Like, I just want to share myself with the universe and with my fellow human beings. My friend that passed, he was so good at that. Like, he was so good at sharing himself. And that is just something that is really important to me right now. And then the last one's kind of abstract, and you might relate to this because you're a little bit younger than me, but finding that youthful passion, that like passion that like you have to do something, that you're like, you have to do it. It's just in your heart and your soul. You have to fucking do this thing. Because I lost that a little bit recently, and I've been doing things to do them, but not so much doing them for the passion aspect. My podcast is really the first thing I've done in a while that I did because I had to do it. So I want to just like live in that space a little bit more.
Yeah, that last one of like just doing things because you want to, because it's a draw that you couldn't. It's like breathing. You have to breathe. The thing is, I find that what that is something we honestly can't control. Like the things we want to do in our lives are not things. I believe anyway. We are purposed creatures. We don't know what that purpose is. And I don't think that purpose is some way divine or some way, supernatural. It can be if that's what your purpose is to find that connection. But fundamentally, we all have something that we're good at. You find it and you lock into it. So for some people, for me anyway, I found it's like communication. It's just, I just want to talk to
me
people
too.
And find it. Yeah.
My gosh. I'm so glad to have met you. I feel the same way. I feel like mine is connection and communication. I relate to that so much.
Also, just to mention, your name is Rebecca Lee.
Yeah.
That's probably a good way to put into the who are you section.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Because what's in a name, Who fucking cares? You can call me whatever you want. I don't care. Just get to know my heart and my soul. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I'm sure most people are like, well, I'm blah, blah, blah. And mine were not that. Yes, but thank you for adding my name.
Yeah, it's important. This show has kind of been one of the first things because I went through in Ireland, we have our schooling system, and most educations in the world, systems in the world, they don't essentially value creativity as part of their metrics. It's all about kind of rote learning. There's the reason why Padraig Pearse, who is one of the kind of, I don't like using the term because it's not quite appropriate for Ireland, but just for communication's sake, the founding fathers of Ireland, Padraig Pearse wrote an essay called The Murder Machine, in which he talks about how the creativity of the soul is far more important than anything a school can teach you. And in fact, it murders, school systems essentially murder the creativity of people. And I did feel that, especially because, like, being trans, I was kind of unhappy when I was going through school. And I hadn't found out who I was, and I hadn't found out what creativity meant for me. And I couldn't be creative, essentially, because, panic and fight or flight mode when you're not sure who you are. But this show, kind of like yours, is the first step in a direction where I'm like, no, I kind of have to be creative. There's nothing about it. If I'm not creative, like, I'm reading a book at the minute called Permission to Feel by Mark Brackett. You ever heard that?
I haven't read it, but I'm going to write it down because that sounds amazing.
It is an incredible book. And it says at one point that it goes through how emotions affect our daily lives. And one of the things is that people who are creative are healthier and more, like, happier in their, and creativity isn't necessarily like write a poem, create a podcast. It's like, what am I going to cook today? It's engaging that part of your brain that makes connections and puts yourself forward into new experiences through joining things. And this show, for me, what you're saying is incredibly resonating with me, because this is the first kind of thing where I've gone, I have to fucking do it. Like, I can't not do it. Yeah.
Yes, man, that is so true. Being creative and creativity, I relate to what you're saying. It's like, I mean, I'm speaking from a very specific place in my life right now, just having experienced loss. So that's kind of where my head's at. But in trying to deal with it, creating is the only way I know how to deal with loss and with trauma. And I'm like, okay, what's a play that I can either option to make a film, or like, I've been reading all of my friend, his name was Bardia. I was reading all of the plays that he did. He was a big theater actor in Australia. I was reading all the plays that he recently did this year. And I'm like, I want to do something with them. I either want to put them up so I can just like feel what he was feeling, or I just want to like connect with him, even though he's gone. So I'm like, listening to all his music and reading all the plays he did. And so it's like, creativity is the only thing that's getting me through the day right now. So I'm so grateful to be an artist and to be surrounded by like-minded individuals,
Well, this kind of pushes us on to question 3, which is, tell me a memory which shaped you.
Fuck. Oh my God.
This is question 3. I live for the terror. The moment of, what the fuck am I doing? Holy shit.
My God. Okay. I'm so excited. How hard is it to pick one moment that has shaped me? And that question is so wonderful, but it's so influenced by like your current state, isn't it? Like, if you asked me that last week, I probably would have given you a different memory that has shaped me. So that's such a lovely question. Okay. It's not a moment. I should preface this by saying, I think life is just a set of small moments, isn't it? I don't think that it's kind of goes hand in hand with this question. I don't think it's the big moments. I don't think it's, the getting your dream job. I don't think it's the like getting a raise, or even like, this might be controversial because I'm not a mother, but like even having a kid, like those are really big, profound moments. But I really think life are these tiny, beautiful moments of connection that you share with another person, even just like a text message that like really meant a lot to you. I think that those little moments are what life is. So that being said, some of my most profound, loveliest connected moments were when I was in theater school. That's actually where I met Bardia as well. And hopefully this podcast is not about my friend who just passed away. I want it to be about me, but it's going to bleed in a little bit. in theater school, you are forced to be vulnerable and you are forced to bare your soul, whether it's through like these moment exercises. Like I remember one exercise is just you sitting in a chair, your scene partner sitting in a chair, and all you do is you look at each other. And this is you looking at me, looking at you is what our instructor would say. And we would sit there in silence and it would build up. Like I believe we started with like 2 minutes and then we do 5 and 10 and 15. And we would just sit in silence looking at another person, which is like, have you ever sat in silence just looking at another human being before? You don't do it. People don't do it. It's rare. It really opens you up. So theater school specifically, and theater as well, but when you're learning and in that space, you're already sort of like young and impressionable and just kind of getting to know yourself. It really breaks you open and it's like raw and guttural, and you make some of the best connections, or I did some of the best connections in lifelong friends. And that moment shaped me so much. Those moments in theater school where I could just be myself and raw and authentic with another human being. And we're all in this together. Like we are not alone. We are all doing the same thing, whether we're feeling pain or joy, we're here together. And I loved that feeling. In sort of transferring into, I'm more in the comedy space now, which is a wonderful space. I love it. However, I'm figuring out that people in comedy are less open and vulnerable than people in like the dramatic theater side. It's just an interesting juxtaposition, and sort of navigating that world has been very interesting. But yeah, I would say theater school was really a moment that shaped me.
Tell me in as much detail as you can about something you knew of which once existed and now does not.
Holy shit. Okay. Can you read the question again?
Tell me in as much detail as you can about something you knew of which once existed and now does not.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry, and it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
No, not at all.
Something that existed that doesn't anymore is, I mean, this is the only thing I can think of right now is my friend.
That had passed away earlier that week.
His body doesn't exist anymore, I guess, which is still something that's so hard for me to comprehend. I don't know if you're like, I mean, I guess nobody's an expert on what happens when you die or when you pass, but like, I just am still so confused because he was once there and he is no longer there. And I can't reconcile that. And my brain just like doesn't get it. But what he was, because you said great detail, so I'm going to give you great detail. I met him in theater school. He was such a wonderful, lovely person. He played all sorts of instruments. I first saw him, he was playing ukulele in the hallways. And I was like, you're cool, man. He's a wonderful musician. He's dark hair, dark eyebrows, wonderful eyelashes that I wish I had, like a skinny, muscular looking body, and like the soul of a true angel. And he was a really wonderful like indie theater actor in Australia and Sydney. And he could do it all. Like he hosted like a nerd, gosh, it wasn't D&D, but it was like a tournament of nerds type of thing. Like he was like this nerdy, wonderful person who liked comics, and we bonded over that. And he was this, but there's also this incredible dramatic actor that like you would not have suspected by talking to him, because he was just like such a wonderful, light, airy, would never judge you ever type of person. That once existed and now does not. However, though his body doesn't exist, like I will so cherish every single thing, that every moment. And, you know, wish that I would have said that, I'm sure everybody says, wish I would have said X or Y or whatever. I wish I would have just said, you have the most wonderful soul. And yeah, had something that existed that no longer exists.
Well, 3 things. I got 3 over on the body description you gave there is appropriately a twunk.
I didn't know that was the term.
Yeah, a Twinkie, but strong is a
yeah.
twunk.
Yeah, a twunk. Oh my God, I'm so excited to learn a new term. Do you know what I mean? Like skinny, but still like muscular.
Yeah, also it could also be lithe, but twunk is funnier.
Oh, I like twunk. I think twunk is fun.
The second thing is, one of my questions later on, I don't usually tell people later on, but I'll tell you this one is, how do you feel about death? And the answers that I've got from that, because I've been terrified of my own, mortality for a long time, but my own perspective on it is, because I lost a friend of mine last year.
I'm so sorry.
It wasn't kind of the same. I was friends with them for a couple of months. I had just started almost to be friends with them. And it still fucking hurt. It hit a lot. But,
it hurts.
Yeah. But it didn't like destroy me as it did many of his closer friends.
Yeah.
But my perspective on the whole thing is that if you act a specific way because of a person, then they're not gone. They are simply transformed. They are simply changed because you act in a specific way and your actions influence other people, and other people, they transform from a corporeal form, of course, but to memories, to smiles, to laughs, to emotions, to behaviors. They're almost immortal through the kind of miasma of humanity. For the rest of time, your actions influenced by your friend will influence other people in ways that they don't even know, and for reasons they don't even know. So that
is so beautiful.
And
thank you for telling me that. That is, I kind of thought of something like that, but the way you just said that, it was perfect. And you're right. You're absolutely right.
And the third thing is, there is truly just so many ways to say the 3 words, I love you. There is so many ways. So while you didn't express those words specifically, and that may be a point of pain, I guarantee you have said those words in 17, 18, 20, a million different ways, in various different text messages, or well done, and many other ways you interact with this person. You don't have to say the words for the meaning to be lost. You can, if you never said them, but you acted that way, that's saying them. There's so many different ways to say it.
God, you are so smart. Do you know that? Do you know how smart and wise you are? My God, what an incredible person you are.
Thank you. I'm going to take your compliment. I would wish sometimes that I believed what other people believe. But...
Of course, we all feel exactly the same way. Yeah. I mean... But man, if you could see you through my eyes, you're a wonderful, wonderful person.
Thank you.
And we're only on, I don't know what question we're on, 3? We're not very far.
Question 5.
Oh, 5, okay.
This next one is pretty fun. I like it.
Okay.
What, if anything, is perfect?
Oh, nothing. There's nothing that's perfect. That doesn't exist. It's not. Also... Fuck that. Who fucking cares? That is the most boring thing I could ever imagine, is something that's perfect. I think it's, get that shit out of our repertoire. Like, who cares? You know what? Just being yourself. And I don't even like that phrase. Just be yourself. That's not even like a good phrase. But I will say, just bare your soul. Just bare your soul. And if it's great great. And if someone doesn't like it, great. Fuck that. Fuck perfection. There's not beauty in perfection. There's beauty in authenticity and being real and being raw, and perfection doesn't exist. So let's not strive for that. Let's strive for being our honest, authentic selves. And that's all we can do. That's it. So no, I feel very strongly about that. Fuck perfection.
Yeah. That's why I have the clause in the middle of it, which is like, no, perfection doesn't exist is a plausible answer to this question.
Yeah.
Question 7. Who is your favorite character from fiction of any kind and why?
Ooh. You know, I don't know that I have a favorite. I just love right now like a bad bitch. Like I just love, and I like the sort of characters that come to mind when I think of like a bad bitch are like Catwoman. It's like, you know, all of the wonderful ladies of Game of Thrones. It's you know who I also think is really cool? Did you ever see, there's two people that, oh man, there's so many. Did you ever see that movie? Oh man, it was so long ago. It was like Scott Pilgrim versus the World or something.
Hell yeah.
You know, the pink-haired chick in it?
Ramona Flowers.
Yes, Ramona. I love her. I think she is a bad bitch. She's so fun. I love that like punk rock, like bad bitch. So pretty much any bad bitch.
Hell yeah. To add to your list of bad bitches, my personal favorite bad bitch is, of course, Gwenpool, who is...
Yes.
So, do you know Gwenpool?
Explain for everybody.
So, Gwenpool is... there was a group of variant covers released for Spider-Man and Deadpool back in 2009 or 10, I can't remember which. And one of them was Gwen Stacy as Deadpool. And from that, a character was kind of created in the fan base called Gwen Pool, who they'd spun off into a full character. She is fucking radical.
Oh my God, I'm going to look her up. And this is so wild because I was reading through old text messages with Bardia and we were talking about Deadpool. And it is so, and I was like, oh, I don't want to see the movie. This was like back when the movie was coming out. I was like, I don't like the choice of actor. I don't like how they designed his costume. Like, I just had all these things to say about it because I just have such a love for the comic. So it's so perfect that you just said that. And I don't know who that is. So I'm very excited to look up Gwenpool because she sounds like my soulmate.
My voice becomes a little bit stilted and there's some background noise in the next 15 minutes just because I had to eat something.
What fascinates you?
Human beings fascinate me. I think they are the most fascinating creatures. I am always so interested in people's experiences and what they've been through and how they feel. I am a person who wants to get deep quick, which is not always like, doesn't always hit the social norms, at least of Los Angeles. People are like, why? What do you want from me? I'm like, oh, nothing. I just truly want to get to know your soul. is that okay? Like, no, it's not okay. I'm like, all right, never mind. So I really get deep quick. I love making deep connections. I love figuring out what make people tick. I love the feeling of just connecting with people. Other things that fascinate me right now, probably death, the afterlife. What is that? What is that composed of? I'm very fascinated by the universe. I don't understand it. I think I'm very fascinated by things that I don't understand that are like hard to wrap your brain around. So like even like philosophical questions and I mean, and I love thinking about it, but it's like stuff that you'll never really know or you'll never really have an answer to. And it's just like intuition or faith or whatever. I don't really use the word faith, but like, yeah, fucking the universe is so big and it blows my mind. So like, I love space documentaries. I think those are so interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's like what I'm into right now. Space, death, and human connection. That sums it up.
Fuck yeah, me too. Especially that thing about like connecting with people quickly. I realized that I did this when like I was developing this set of questions.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why can I do this? I realized that my kind of main mode of operation in conversation is, okay, well, yeah, tell me what wakes you up at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday morning in terror. Yeah, like, please tell me that, you know?
Yes.
That's not kind of socially acceptable many places.
No, apparently it's not.
But you see, in order to get to that point, people usually have to like stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, have a couple of beers. I don't drink, so that takes me out of it. There's a lot of work and a lot of unnecessary conversation, that because I know I can just have a conversation like this with people, but there's a lot of work about like, oh, and where did you go to school? You know, like,
I know. And I'm like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
I'm so not about surface conversations. Like, I truly don't care. I want to get deep, and I want to get deep quick. But I get a lot of people it's a big thing. It's a fear for a lot of people to be vulnerable and to show who they really are. And I'm discovering now how rare it is to find someone that you really connect with quickly. Like, have you ever met someone and you connect on a deep level so quick that you're like, I must have known you in a past life, or our atoms must have been the same atoms at some point. Like, I truly think that about a few people, and I'm really grateful for those people, because I'm discovering that it is rare. I didn't used to think it was rare, but now I'm really discovering, wow, that's a rare quality to have that instant connection. And it's not to say that like friendships that take work aren't valuable. They are valuable. It's just a different feeling. So yeah, I just love those like instant connections where you're like, oh yeah, my bones and your bones must have been the same bones at some point because we have an immediate connection.
Yeah, like I'm also kind of murder for this, whereas I'll talk to people for like 15 minutes and then they'll just tell me stuff. I'm like, I think what it is that I don't pretend like I'm not feeling a specific way. If I'm meeting a person, first thing up top I'll say is, I'm actually really nervous about this. Yeah, okay, so the person knows now I'm going to be honest about this. And it's not honesty without tact. I'm not saying, I think you're going to be a bit of it's like, no, it's more, I'm actually genuinely nervous, or I'm actually genuinely excited, or here's what wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But
oh my God, I need to have you on my podcast. I want to know about you. So I'm going to have you on my podcast because you are so interesting.
Thank you. But I did do a bit of thinking as to why I have a predilection toward instant communication, because if a lot of people don't and I do, what is different? And I don't know if this is a universalizable trait, but for me, it actually originated in a fear I didn't even know I had, because I always thought that my biggest fear was, that isn't actually one of my questions, but I thought for a long time my biggest fear was working in a job that I hate, in a city that I despise, doing something that I don't give a shit about for reasons that I don't care about, you know, like a compounding of, I have wasted my potential on something that doesn't enrich me, that doesn't build me up. However, in actuality, it was being alone, just being with my own thoughts, kind of in a suffocating way. That was my biggest fear. And I suppose the desire for instant connection comes as a huge salve for that, because if I'm just instantly connected with a person, well, that shows that I can kind of bear the inner workings of my mind, which even I don't understand. And sometimes people can go, oh wow, I understand that, because in my head, here's how I recognize it, and I learned something about myself, and I learned something about other people in that. But it actually comes from a place of fear for me.
That's like so interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder, I know I've never thought about it before. My desire for connection. That's interesting. That's something I'll have to think about. You're so wise. You said you were 22?
22, yeah.
When I was 22, I was binge drinking and like snorting prescription pills. Like I was a wild child. So you are fucking leaps and bounds above me, man. You are so impressive.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. I don't really know what to say. I don't get
nothing. You don't need to say anything. Just know that's how I feel about you.
Thank you. Question 9 is, what piece of media should everyone consume?
Oh my God. These questions are so good. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we should consume. I love documentaries. I think they are a wonderful way if maybe you're not like a reader. I know some people aren't like readers. Documentaries are really great ways to sort of learn about the world. I think consuming documentaries specific to right now, at least in America, we are grappling with racism in all shapes, and forms. And we need to educate ourselves, especially as a white woman, and any sort of media around the inequalities of race. And I'll also add, like classism is huge, and I think really goes hand in hand with racism. So any media that is going to inform you of the implicit bias, racism, classism, especially in US society. I'm not educated enough to know about what other countries grapple with in terms of racism, but any type of media that is going to educate you on that issue, an extremely important issue, I would say consume. Other pieces of media to consume. I'm a bit I'm not an environmentalist. I prioritize Mother Nature and our planet and our world. I live a lifestyle to try to eliminate, waste as much as possible, plastic as much as possible. I don't eat meat. So I think, prioritizing that's really important. So if you're not educated on our planet and what we need to do to keep it healthy, and we're on the verge of not being able to come back from it with carbon emissions. I mean, there's stuff you can do that is like offsetting your carbon emissions, and you could just Google it, how to offset it. Because, we have to do things. Sometimes we have to travel on a plane. There are ways to offset those carbon emissions. So intaking any type of media that has to do with our planet and our environment, I think is another really great thing to ingest.
If you could name a hot sauce, what would you call it and why?
A hot sauce. I wish I could think of something more clever right now. All I can think of is like bad bitch, or like, that's what's on my mind right now, is like just being like a badass bitch. What's like a hot sauce? Ooh, bad. I'm just gonna call it bad bitch hot sauce because it's too early. JK, it's 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon. However, I'm a night owl, so I'll call it bad bitch hot sauce. That's it.
How spicy would it be?
What's that?
How spicy would it be?
Oh, well, I'm a pussy when it comes to eating things that are spicy. So I'm going to go medium. So most people would be like, this isn't spicy. And I would be like, this is so spicy. That's how spicy it would be.
Yeah. I am a glutton for the pain of hot sauce. Just
oh, really?
The hottest stuff. Just burn my face.
Oh my God, that's where we differ.
Mm,
I thought we were exactly the same, but look at us. We're unique.
It's because I want, apparently the kind of pain that comes with hot sauce is similar to that of like getting high or whatever. I mean, I've never been high. Yeah.
Shit, now I have to try it. Because I just have been too like, I'm like, oh, it ruins. I can't taste anything that I'm eating. All I taste is hot sauce. I can't taste any of the other flavors. So like, why would I do that? But now that you're saying you can get high from it.
Yeah, apparently you can. Yeah. I'm like the hottest, just put whatever the hottest stuff that's there is on my food. Because sometimes if you're eating like chicken, chicken's kind of bland, doesn't really have a taste. I can taste the sinews of chicken, or I can taste this kind of maybe sweet corn based hot sauce with a little garlic kick in it.
Yeah, see, that sounds great. But like the kind that all you taste is like burn. But now that you're saying it's multifunctional and you can use it to get high, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it.
Sometimes the taste of pain is better than the taste of chicken, is all I'm saying.
Should be on a fucking t-shirt.
Question 11. What's your most prized physical possession?
Physical possession? Oh. I'm not really a physical possession type of person. Like, I don't own designer things. I love vintage clothing. I buy pretty much every article of clothing secondhand, which kind of comes from trying to eliminate the amount of waste in our world, but also I just think vintage clothes are way cooler than modern clothes. So I don't really have a prized possession. Well, I never thought I would say this because I'm not a technology person. I don't care. But but it is home to a lot of the things that I write. I'm also a writer, so a lot of things I write and a lot of photos and messages and memories are on my devices. So that is a very prized possession to me. I learned the hard way to back up your computer. Turns out you're supposed to back these things up. So I would say that, and my engagement ring is really special and important to me, and is a prized possession. So I would say my technology that houses my art and my engagement ring, which represents my heart.
I like the fact that it rhymes.
I know, what a loser.
I think it's cool.
I said it and then I was like, oh my God, that was so lame.
Hey, question 12. What inspires you?
Man, what inspires me kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm inspired by people. I'm a storyteller. I love to create a space for people to tell me their stories. I love to be the actor in other people's stories. I am completely and utterly inspired by the complexities of the human brain, the human consciousness, what makes us tick, what makes us move. I'm just human beings. I think they're the most inspirational thing. And I can't say I love them all, but I can say there are some really good people out there. There are some really, and sometimes it's really easy to forget that, especially right now with like quarantining. I'm trying to keep this evergreen, but I'll touch on quarantine really quick. I'm used to doing live shows multiple times per week, and that audience feedback and my fellow performers, like they are so inspirational. And I don't have that. I don't have that outlet of live theater that I usually have. And so it's been really hard. And I can imagine for other people, whether you're introverted or extroverted, this time has been sort of a rude awakening when it comes to connection. It's been a lot harder. You can't just be like, hey, you want to go grab a cup of coffee or you want to go grab a beer or whatever. You have to be like, at least where I am, we have to be like, okay, well, let's get a test. And then we'll wait 3 days when the test results come in, then we'll figure out, then we got to go, it's a lot more planning, or it's virtual, which is great, but it's not the same as like tangible. I'm a very like, I would love to touch you, like, and so I haven't had that inspiration of human contact. So it's been really interesting, but I would say human connection is what inspires me most. Yeah.
Did you ever have an epiphany? If so, what was it about?
So my latest epiphany, which I talked about a little bit, was that life is just these little moments, that life is just, it's not the big things. It's just these tiny moments that are so lovely that you can look back on. That is the most recent epiphany was that. And another epiphany I had recently was that I want to share myself more with the world. That was another epiphany. And, I do therapy every week. I've been in therapy for years and years and years. A lot of, I feel like epiphanies are kind of rare, right? Like I do a lot of thinking. I am in my head all the time thinking about things, but it's rare that something's like instantaneous. I usually spend like a great deal of time thinking about it before I sort of come to a conclusion. I guess those two are the most recent epiphanies. And then the values, having a set of values, just like the thought of having them was an epiphany. Because obviously everybody has innate values. You just don't really think about it. Or I didn't really think about it. So the fact that I could like think about it, write it down, and then like wake up in the morning and check back in with those values was an epiphany. It's like, it's really helpful too, I think, if you're like an indecisive person or you're not sure like how to move in the world all the time, to check back in with your values and being like, oh, is this in line with my values? If I take, for example, like should I take this job? Is it in line with my values? Oh, it's not. It's not going to allow me the freedom of creativity. Okay, then I'm not going to take it. It makes making decisions like that a lot easier. So having a value system was a big epiphany for me. Yeah. Also, I'll add another thing. Just because they're your parents doesn't mean they're good people. And I think that's really important to remember. And you might have garbage, awful biological family members, but you can create your own family with friends, and you are not alone. I don't know. I just have the desire to say that. If your family sucks, then fuck that. You make your friends your family. I think that's key.
That is so relevant, especially for people in like queer communities, because fuck, like a lot of people,
right. Yeah, man. I didn't even think about that. You're totally right.
Like a lot of people get an awful experience in their kind of upbringing with all these toxic behaviors of, now I'm extremely lucky and privileged to say that my parents are excellent human beings. I love them to pieces.
That's lovely.
This question came from the realization that I had when I was, because I've never had like the bolt from the blue, but it was kind of it was less an epiphany, more decision, but I kind of classify the same thing, where I realized that I had never I didn't remember when I was 16. I realized I hadn't remembered the last time I told my mom that I loved her, and I went, okay, well that's not good. I'm going to be a person who says I love you too much, because I'll never regret that. You'll never regret saying that. Like I interact with my siblings in various different ways. Not all of them are positive outcomes, but I love them. I love my family. But a lot of people, and a lot of my friends, do not have the privilege of having a beautiful and loving family.
Yeah.
But they can, because they can just create them. You don't owe anyone shit. Like you literally don't owe anyone anything. Just go off into the world and be like, do you bring me value? No. Okay, get fucked.
Yes.
Do you bring me value? Yes, you do. Okay, let's spend time together.
Yes, absolutely.
And if there's a stage where I'm not bringing you value, okay, fucking go. You don't owe me shit. I don't owe you shit. This is great. We're value attributors in this weird thing called life. If we don't interact with one another in a positive way, if we don't walk away from each interaction feeling uplifted, or at the very least neutral, though uplifting is probably a lot better, then there's no point.
Totally.
Yeah, if you send me a text message and I get anxious because you sent me a text message, you're gone. Like, get fucked.
Yeah, like it's not. Yeah, so I think that's important for people to remember, is just fucking, if your family isn't supporting you or isn't loving you for who you are, or God forbid being toxic and actually bad for you, fuck them. It's on them. It's not you. You're not doing anything wrong. You're wonderful. Fuck them, and get some wonderful friends who will love you even more so than family. And that's cool and great.
What is the silliest thing you want to own?
I don't know. I don't really think about owning things very often. I'm not really an owning thing type of person. Because some people I bet would say like, oh, well, that's not silly. I was going to say people probably like, I want to own a house or something, but that's not silly. I mean, it's not silly, but I would love to own like my own production studio, or like my own production company, like, and to be able to make art all the time would be so fucking rad. The only reason that I want money is to make art. Like, I don't love money. I don't care. I mean, money's great, whatever. You could do great things with money, but like, I can't think of anything silly I want to own. I just want to make art. I just want to make art. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. That is so hard for me. I mean, I would love, here's kind of a silly answer. I've always wanted a coffee bar next to my bed, because I'm like a caffeine addict. And so I would love to just like wake up and just like 1 foot away from my bed, I can just like make a fucking espresso and pound it. Like, you know, in hotel rooms, how they have like that little coffee bar next to the bed. It's like, that's what I want in my room, a coffee bar next to my bed.
If you could say your work has a theme, what would that theme be?
Acceptance, I think. I think acceptance of yourself is a big through line in a lot of the stuff that I make. I've been focusing more on comedy for the past few years. And yeah, everything boils down to accepting yourself and showing it to the world. I don't know. I think with art, you go through phases and you emphasize different things. And I'm sure this next sort of chapter of my life, this phase of my life, I am curious of what will resonate with me. But I will say previously, up until now, it has been like acceptance of oneself and sharing that with the world. Yeah.
What is the most valuable thing you have ever learned?
A few things come to mind. It's better to be bold than to be right, I think is a really cool thing to think about. Or it might have been it's better to be bold than to be great or something. Because like it's not the same thing for everybody, right? Like what's great for you is not great for me. Everything's subjective. These adjectives are subjective. Perfect, great, right. Who the fuck knows what's perfect, great, and right? Who the fuck knows? So being bold to me means being yourself, and it's better to be yourself than be right, or to be yourself than be perfect. I think that's big. That you have worth. You are worthy, no matter what accomplishments or awards or jobs or amount of money. That does not define who you are. Who you are is an intrinsic thing. It has nothing to do with externals. And, especially in my career, it's easy to attach yourself to getting a job, right? We go on auditions all the time. We hear no all the time. And it can be devastating. But I have finally learned that, like, I'm just going to be me. And if you like it, great. And if you don't like it, great. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I just want to be myself. So I think that is super valuable. Is just like, you are worthy and great, no matter what it doesn't matter what all these other people think, So I think that's super, super valuable. Share your soul and to just like cherish little moments too.
This is something that I put on my social media a lot as well, but it's like, I'm a person who suffers with anxiety. So often the moments from my teenage years come back to me. I'm like, I can't believe you believe that, you're a fucking X, or, you did this thing and that was bad. And none of these things were like egregious things. I wasn't a Nazi. Like, I was just a teenager who was angsty.
Yeah.
And I am worthy of success and love and kindness, and everyone is is worthy of those things, regardless of anything you've done before. If you were just an absolutely shit human being up until this very point, and you've made the executive decision that going forward you are going to be, a better person, you're going to love, you're going to be kind, then you are worthy of your success and your love, and you will have to deal with the consequences of your past. That's fair and that's true.
Yeah. Yes.
But doesn't change the fact that you are not only allowed to, but deserving of all of the good things you think only good people get.
Absolutely. Anxiety is a bitch. I have suffered from anxiety, depression. I've been on so many different medications my entire life, until my entire adult life, until I found one that was right for me. But anxiety is it's really hard. I also have OCD. So like that combination and you're just like truly cycling through that, like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that. How am I going to change that? That whole thing is just like fucking hard. It's really hard to get a handle on too, but you're totally right.
This is the question we spoke about earlier, but here we go again. Question 17. How do you feel about death?
Yes. How do I feel about death? Confused. I feel very confused about death. I just ordered a book called, let me see what it was called, because a friend of mine recommended it to me and I have yet to read it, but she said it was really good. How to Know Higher Worlds. Have you heard of this book?
I have not
heard
of this.
By Rudolf Steiner.
It's okay. I do know who Rudolf Steiner is.
It's like turn of the century. And we'll see. I'll report back. But I feel very confused about death. I feel like I don't know what happens. And it's funny because prior to my friend's passing, I felt more like I knew what I was like, oh yeah. Well, what I thought prior to this was like, our energy is transformed into something else. I don't know what that other thing is. You said it best earlier when you were talking. I can't wait to re-listen to it and hear what you said, because you were like perfect with what you said. But
thank you.
Yeah, I used to think it was like our energy is transformed in some way, but now, unfortunately, I feel like maybe it just stopped. Maybe it's just the end. Maybe it's just you die and that's it. And that's it. That's kind of where my headspace is at right now. Having just experienced death, I'm just like, I don't know. So I hope I get a more optimistic view, or I don't know, I don't want to use the word optimistic, but I hope I can get back to where I was like, oh yeah, our energy is not lost, it's transformed. But right now I don't feel that way. I feel like, where's my friend?
Yeah, but that's like, I mean, that's totally fair. If you
Yeah.
didn't feel that way, that would be a lot worse, wouldn't it? If you were just like,
Yeah.
yeah, he was a dick. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's much better to feel like the arrows, the slings and arrows of time, to use Shakespeare's quote. Like, it's much better to feel those, because like, doesn't it say a lot about about human existence that you do feel these things, that you were so closely bound to another person? Aren't you so lucky to be able to be like, yeah,
so lucky.
I feel this sad right now because I lost something amazing, but I had the amazing thing, and I will have all of these memories of the amazing thing, and the amazing thing just shaped me for the rest of my life. Fuck yeah, hell yeah. Like, death is so scary because it's uncertain. But there's actually a fantastic book. I had a guest on the show called, two guests. One, Eric Campbell, who is a TTRPG writer and like performer, and he was telling me about this book of Japanese death poems. So there was this thing in Japan for a while during the 1800s where people used to, at their moment of their death, write a haiku about their entire life. And it's a book full of those poems.
Wow.
And if you just go onto Amazon and type in Japanese death poems, you'll find it. It's incredible. Like, I was reading some of the poems, and the things they succinctly summarize are incredible. And then I had another guest on called Tomas Prower, who writes on mysticism and the occult. And he was telling me about the cult of Santa Muerta. You ever heard of the cult of Santa Muerta?
Yep.
Yeah. And he was telling me all about that, how they view death as like a warm friend, that it just accompanies you. It's not scary because death doesn't judge you. They're just there. She's just there waiting. And both of those made me go, wow, maybe I shouldn't be so afraid of this thing. But I have yet to find anyone who tells me something that makes loss any easier.
Right.
Because loss is different. Like, your own mortality is fine. You can kind of get over that. You won't be around anyway. You get to know. But loss is different. You just get left behind. And you're like, well, what the fuck? What? Like, and sometimes you don't even get to see the person who died. They're just gone, and they're just like,
that's how mine is. Yeah.
So what you have to do then is you have to not only construct their image in your head again, but construct their passing. And you have to sit with that. Like the Romans, I saw when I was in the Vatican with my college course, we went to the Vatican for art history, and we went into the catacombs underneath it, and there was this strip of old, it's like they're tombs, essentially. Though I wouldn't call them tombs, isn't the accurate word here. But what they used to do is they used to build the tomb, and then above it, they would build a table. Like, so these would be on the open street. There would be all these mausoleums. Mausoleum is the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
And then above it, they would have a roof, and they would have a table with places and a tool for making lemonade. Because sometimes if they were feeling sad about losing their friend, they would just go and walk up to the top of the person's tomb and have lemonade with their friend, who is now just in this spot forever. And they just went, this is so cool and natural. And we don't really know super like what they believed. They had a form of an afterlife, Elysium and stuff like that, but we don't really know. because they also felt that people were still here. And in essence, you probably feel the exact same way. I know it's the way I felt for a while. It was weird to think that it wasn't the same anymore. But I mean, it's the same, but I choose to be enthusiastic. This is a weird thing that I've had a friend say to me. You seem enthusiastic about death, but like, what's the alternative? You want me to be sad? Like you want me to be upset? You like, I've already done those things. I can't do those things. And like when I have another loss, and I know it's inevitable at some point in my life, I'll feel sad and upset then. But I have to be enthusiastic as well, because everyone has to do it. So would you rather be enthusiastic or sad about the thing that everyone has to do? Like, oh yeah, I get to jump out of a plane. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You're
so right though about like my own death. I'm less concerned about than the loss. That is so accurate to how I'm feeling right now. Yes, I feel left behind, lost, and I hope to be back and enthusiastic about death like you are right now at some point, and I'm sure I will be. But right now, I just feel confused, lost, and left behind. So, which sounds like is probably normal.
Yeah, you'll get there. You will always get there. And like, by the way, like the waves thing, like where it does come waves, it is true, because some days you'll just be like fine.
Yeah.
But don't feel guilty about feeling fine.
Right.
You just feel. If you judge your own emotions, you've lost. It's game over, because you're just gonna have. Because where do you even get those judgments from? Like, who told you had to feel sad? No, because if your friend was still here, they would want you to be happy. So surely you should just feel happy and take whatever small mercies and blessings you can get. And it's okay to feel left behind, because they've gone on to do something else and you're still here, but that doesn't mean you can't be happy. And
yeah.
I
am like, yes, I am just so glad we're having this conversation. Yes, you are completely and absolutely right.
I like putting these two questions together. What makes you smile?
Yeah, you really juxtaposed that hard. Friends make me smile. That's a very generic answer. But when I say friends, I mean like close loved ones. I don't mean like acquaintances. I mean close friends. Things that make me smile. Comedy. I'm in the comedy world. That's not really a deep answer, but I am an improviser and a comedian. So yeah, anything in that world, doing improv, I miss it so much, but that makes me smile. Making art makes me smile. Acting makes me smile. Writing makes me smile. Anything creative, tangible, painting. I love to paint. I like watercolor is my thing right now. Music makes me smile. I just put together like a playlist as I was going through like my old conversations with Bardia, and I like made a playlist of every song that we referenced throughout like the years of our friendship, and like made a whole playlist about it. And I've been listening to that, and it makes me smile. Going to the theater. Oh, I love the theater and I miss it so much. And connecting with people like you who are willing to go deep and bare your soul and let me bare my soul with no judgment. I think that is wonderful and makes me smile.
Thank you so much. The reason why I put that question after the one about death is because I think in my head, like the two I'm trying to form neural pathways between those two. I want to be like, part of the gratitude that I'm feeling at the moment in the expression of this question, I want them to link to death in some way, shape, or form. And
creating those new neural pathways is not easy, but it is key.
What is a feeling or experience you've had which doesn't have a word that you wish did?
That feeling you get. Okay, I have two. One is that feeling you get when you meet someone and you have like an instant connection. You instantly, I don't mean like romantic. I guess it could, romantic or sexual. It could be any of those, but just like we were the same person at one point, or like I knew you at one point, or I usually just say like my bones and your bones were the same at one point. And there is no word for that because connection doesn't do it justice. But that feeling is the best feeling for me. I will also say, I guess this one does kind of have a feeling, but like, or a word, but like that like puppy love at the beginning of like a crush, you know, that like excited when you like get a text from someone, or like that, like the warm and fuzzy, but like the newness, you know, I love that like new feeling. I'm trying to figure out a way how to cultivate that in life, that newness, but like with things that aren't new, you know? And it's like, it's impossible, but I just love that feeling. And I guess it could be without other people too, that newness of like doing a new thing, you know? I love that feeling. Yeah, so I guess I need to do more new things. Kind of hard in a quarantine situation, but
Learn something new about something you already know.
yes,
Yeah.
that's a good one. I'm going to write that down. I got a lot of Post-its from this conversation.
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, me too.
I have like little scribbles.
Yeah.
Like I have a big book of scribbles that
me too.
I just write them all down because I'm like, this is great. I have to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
At the end of every single one of my shows as well, because I'm a huge art history nerd. Like it's one of my major passions.
Wow.
I put a new painting every single week. I find a painting that inspired me and I put it in my descriptions. And I don't know who anyone sees that, but I see it and it's important to me.
Wait, descriptions on what? Like, where are you putting this?
Yeah, on like Spotify or whatever.
Oh, okay.
At the very end, the last thing I put is this week's painting is X, because
cool.
I love art so much that every single week I upload, like when I upload episodes and stuff, I'm like, I'm gonna learn a new painting, and it's gonna be like I'm gonna learn the entire artist's history and something about it every single week, and so.
Oh man, that's a really good way to like stay passionate about what you love. Oh, I'm excited to see what one happens for us.
Yeah, and it's usually connected in some way to something the person says. So.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
I think this week is probably going to be something by Rene Magritte. You ever heard of Rene Magritte?
No.
Rene Magritte is the dude who did Ce n'est pas pipe. Ce n'est pas. This is not a pipe. It probably won't be this specific painting, but it's called The Treachery of Images by Rene Magritte.
Okay.
He is the dude. Fun fact about Rene Magritte: he's notably he's a dude of mommy issues, but that's not why I like his art, and his art doesn't really express that. His personal life does. The painting I'm thinking of in particular at the minute, it's called Memory.
Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh fuck yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Rene Magritte.
I'm gonna save it.
There's so many the symbolism in this is insane. Like the leaf because it's evergreen, the little bauble of youth, the woman with the blood stain on her eye showing how time, like she's cast in marble because her memory is perfect forever, but she's wounded by her own memory.
Oh my God, I can't wait to learn about this fucking painting. You picked a really good one. If that's the one you use, that is accurate as hell.
Yeah, so there you go. Would you describe yourself as cute and cuddly?
No. No. I am intense, sensitive. However, I am warm. And I love strongly. I just am intense with my emotions. So I love really hard and I cry really hard. And you know, at a point too much, you know, I talked a little bit about my depression and anxiety, and like I'm on an antidepressant, which is completely saved my life. But prior to my hard loves and my hard sorrows were getting in the way of functioning. I mean, until I got on the antidepressant that I'm now and stayed on it, because I was always like, I would get on one and then be like, I don't need it. And then I'd get off and then lose it. But a part of my brain opened up. I never painted before. And when I got on my antidepressant, all of a sudden I started painting. And I was like, what is this? I've never done this form of art before. And I loved it. And it's like my brain didn't have the space the capacity to make art. And I got really into like vintage styling and vintage clothes. I never had the capacity because it was consumed by anxiety and depression. And so when I got a little bit of hold of that, it allowed my brain to then take that space that was depression and anxiety and fill it with a new art form, which how fucking rad is that? That's so fucking cool. But I still do love really hard. And I also feel really hard. I'm an empath for sure. So I wouldn't say I'm cute and cuddly. I would say that I'm just a ball of emotions.
I've never heard someone use the kind of phrasing "I love" and then there's nothing after it. Like, most people say "I love this movie" or just "I love." I fucking love that. That's so cool. Thank you. I'm gonna start using that. That's fucking class. I love that.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. I'm glad that resonated with you.
Question 21. Tell me about something you learned recently that amused you.
That amused me. I feel like my answers are so morbid. No, I learn things all the time. I don't know how amusing they are to other people. I feel like they're more helpful for my mental state. Like, I don't know, they're not like fun and giggly, hence why I'm not the bubbly, cuddly, whatever the last question was. No, but like, have you ever just moved your body in a way that feels good for an extended amount of time? Like, it's based in like this thing called authentic movement, which is a type of can be a type of therapy where you just move your body in ways that feel good and you just keep going. Like, whether that's, okay, I just want to, even if it's just like, I want to stay in this position. And then when you get an impulse to move it in a different way, you move it in a different way. And you just like follow your impulses. There's a lot about following impulses, but it's called authentic movement. It's really cool. And I just discovered it recently. And it reminded me of taking movement class back in theater school, which was wild and so fun. We forget how the body is so connected to the mind. Like, sometimes we just think that it's just our brain, but there's a strong mind-body connection. And so authentic movement is a really cool thing that I really love. And that's a new thing that I think is maybe not amusing, but amusing to me.
It's amusing to me, so that's fucking rad.
Yeah,
that's
right?
fucking sick. I've never heard of this. That's fucking sick. I love it.
Yeah, authentic movement. It's very, very cool and just intuitive,
Yeah, this is the one question on my show that I answer as well because I learn new things every week. So
yes,
yeah, my what I learned this week is I learned about tarot cards. I never knew anything about tarot cards. I knew the aesthetic of tarot cards.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was like, "I'm gonna do a tarot reading for you." I was like, "This is really cool," and so I got myself a tarot deck, and I've been reading like what the cards mean, and then I'd be going onto the internet and like finding out like the history of the cards and just learning about the like even just artistically and also like as a tool for reflection, just tarot cards. It's really cool, and
it's really cool.
it's something that like some of the cards like I really like the art style. The tarot deck I bought was the Modern Witch Tarot deck, which is like this it takes a lot of modern inspirations instead of using kind of Rider-Waite and some of the other ones, and I just think it's really cool and amused the crap out of me. And so
tarot cards, I've had my tarot reading done once. I loved it. I've also been looking at like my natal chart, which is like, I haven't looked at my birth chart. I can't read my own birth chart. So I think I'm going to get it read by somebody. Because like I know like basic astrology, but not like my birth chart and like where the eclipses are in my birth chart and all that stuff. I would be very interested in finding that out. So I think I'm going to get it read and do a tarot card at the same time. So I agree. And tarot cards are interesting.
Yeah, like even as an aesthetic movement, because they've become extremely popular. Again, they've kind of entered our zeitgeist again.
Yes.
And I just to be aware of what people are talking about when they're doing it and see how they work for people and how they work in different people's lives in different ways. Some people attach supernatural meaning, some people completely do not. Just it's fascinating and very amusing. And Also learning about some of the occult attachments to it, which I had no idea. I had never even heard of tarot cards before, like a couple of months ago,
Oh,
and just
wow.
yeah. So it's wild, and it amused the crap out of me. So that's
Yeah,
what
I
amused me.
tend to always look for like signs and symbols and try to attach a supernatural meaning to everything. It's like, I don't know if it's healthy, but I'm always like, is that a sign? Is that like, I'm just very like esoteric in that sense. Yeah,
Well,
so
I do that as well.
yeah.
Actually, I had a person on the show. I mentioned him earlier because he's an absolute sweetheart. I had B. Dave Walters on the show, and he mentioned a book which is called The Three Only Things, where people tend to reduce the patterns we find in the world to either like it's only my imagination, it's only it's only chance, but my personal belief is that if your mind has registered a pattern, it's registered that pattern for some reason. And you can call it God, you can call it your subconscious, you can call it whatever, but there's some reason for you noticing it. So follow it. If you're like, if out
Yes.
of the blue you get the spark to go, I should do some painting, do it. Just
Yeah.
for whatever reason, your body has told you it's important, or God has
Yes.
told you, or the universe has told you, you
Yeah.
just run with it
Yeah.
because it's for whatever reason you believe it is important, it is important.
Following impulses is so important and so
Yeah.
key, and that resonates with me absolutely. Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
Do you think our consciousness is just okay, I'll word it this way. Is our brain the hardware and our consciousness is the software, and without the hardware there is no software, meaning like without brain function there is no subconscious, that subconscious is just a result of the scientific biological brain. Does that make sense? My question makes sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. I did believe that for a long time. It was something that I was like, yeah, we're biological computers, and it makes sense, and science kind of backs up this idea that once our brain shuts down, that's it, it's game over. And then the more I thought about it, and the more I have experienced the world, and the more I've experienced kind of connection, I'm like, things are too finely tuned for everything to just stop the way it is. Like the flesh robot is too finely tuned. Like if we can detect waverings in the subatomic particles of just by intention, like if you observe a particle, it changes. So I don't see how like the consciousness, this far more complex thing than just observation. I don't see that how that fully stops. I think maybe now say what you will about like the Buddhists believe that it's a one connected network, man, like it's the universe experiencing itself. I don't know if you've ever watched the Midnight Gospel. They have an episode about this. You should watch the
No.
Midnight Gospel. It's really
Okay.
good. It's an animated show by Duncan Trussell and Pendleton Ward. The final episode is actually Duncan Trussell interviewing his mother who has terminal cancer. It's really,
Wow.
yeah, it's an incredible show. But the Buddhists believe that it's the universe experiencing itself in little pockets, and then when we die, we're kind of elevated back up to that state. I think, I think it's more complex than that. I think perhaps there's just too much to it for it to just stop. I truly
Right?
believe that. And people say that's naive or whatever. I just think that like my lived experience of the world tells me that something came before me and something will come after me. And I don't think it'll be the same. I think that when we die, we are in essence losing human corporeal form and this experience. But I'm just a little bit suspicious. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't think that when we die, consciousness ends at that point.
Yeah.
I just don't think so. I think it's a little bit too complex for
Yeah.
things to just stop. The systems
Yeah.
that make consciousness possible and the fucking wackiness that is consciousness,
Yeah.
like because people would say like scientific explanations for consciousness say that consciousness is like the radar. We detect our environment and it's giving our mind stimuli.
You're right.
But why do we see things as beautiful? Why do we see
Yeah.
things as like rage inducing? Why do we have empirical judgments about the world that don't directly relate to our survival?
Yeah.
Because you could
Right.
say
Right.
like beauty has no bearing on sexual attractiveness, and sexual attractiveness is the thing that would make us, amorality is the thing that connects us to people so that we procreate. But
Right.
beauty has absolutely nothing to do with that. Aesthetics has absolutely nothing to do with that. The rational mind is kind of redundant when it comes to pure survival. Like, we can make decisions, but to answer your question, no. Am I 100% certain as to what comes next? No, but I think that's kind of how it's supposed to be. I don't think I'm supposed to know, because if I knew, well, if it was too good, I might want to go there quicker. And if
I know, right?
yeah. So
I relate.
Yeah, I don't think so, is my answer. Where do you feel safest?
Safety, such an interesting thing to think about. I, again, have had my world rocked this week, and safety is not actually like a priority to me right now, which is really weird and maybe unhealthy. But okay, that was a tangent. But I feel safest in my bed. That's like a super generic answer, but like physically I feel safest in my bed. It's where I find comfort. My therapist calls it like, this is so embarrassing. My therapist calls it like mommy bed, because it's like where you like it's like the womb. For me, it's like, I'm like, I just want like my mom. And so she'll be like, well, you have mommy bed and you have mommy blanket, because I have like a blanket that I use in my bed. And like, you have mommy Casey, my fiance. So like all these things that make me feel like safe and secure. But the bed, I've just been a bed person. Like, I don't take naps on the couch. I don't spend time in the living room. I always spend time in bed. Like, I write in bed, I dream in bed. It's just like a really safe cocoon for me. I set it up like in a specific way that makes me feel good. It's really like my safe haven. When everything's going awry, I can just be in bed and feel safe for even a moment. But yeah, that is where I feel safest.
If you were on a starship, what position would you hold?
I like don't want too much responsibility. Like, I'm definitely a leader by nature, but like I don't like responsibility. I like right now I don't really ever want to own a house. I don't know that I ever want to have kids. I don't like rules. I don't like structure. I thrive in impulsivity, in change. I just really do love things that change. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. Which like some people may say that that's selfish, but that's just like the life that I enjoy living. I don't like to plan things out. I'm not a planner. I'm more spontaneous. So like I feel like the ego part of me wants to be captain, but like I would be a shit captain. I would be a garbage captain. Like I'd be like, we're going this way. And they'd be like, no, bitch, we have to go this way. And I'd be like, too bad. So I need a position that's like flighty and like allows you to like go with the flow and like do this and do that. I don't know what position. Does that position exist? What is that position?
You could be like a ground team operator that they send down to the planet to like scout out the air, like a scout.
Okay, I'd be that then.
Do you think there is more good than bad in the world?
Yes. Yes, I do. I feel strongly about that. And I've just experienced, don't get me wrong. I have experienced some heavy garbage, trash, bad people. I've been in an abusive relationship, a physically abusive and emotionally abusive relationship. I have a toxic father. We don't speak. Like, I have gone through it. However, I have had the most wonderful, touching moments with people. And I truly believe there's more good than bad in the world. And I did not used to think that, but I absolutely do now. And I can say that through tears, grieving the death of a loved one. And I still think there's more good than bad in the world. I mean, he was a perfect example of that. I think there's more good than bad in the world.
If you could give just one piece of advice, what would that be?
The ultimate question, isn't it? Share your soul. Share it. It's beautiful. We love to see it. We want to connect with you. I can't speak for anybody else, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful, your fucking soul. So share it and like connect with me, connect with people. I think perhaps the meaning of life is connection, is to connect with people. And you can't do it if you're not sharing yourself. So share your soul, and then also tell people, whether it's through your words or your actions, when you love someone. And I'm not talking about romantic love, it can be that too. But when you have any sort of love, share it. Tell people, show people that they are meaningful and that they mean something to you. And like right now, like, I love you. We just met on this fucking podcast, and I love you. I see your soul. You shared it with me. I appreciate it. I value you. I think you have so much worth. I think you radiate fucking acceptance and love, and goddamn, it's beautiful. So I hope that more people can be like you, and dare I say, like me, and share themselves, because it is beautiful to connect with.